So, with the start of the NHL season brings an opportunity for us to make some experimental videos. There haven't been any huge news stories rotating around the block today, so what we're going to do is take a bunch of the smaller ideas and combine them into one thing here, because there are some things that I think are interesting enough to talk about, and for me personally, I'm kind of a fan of some of these players that were mentioned, so let's dive into it, shall we? We're talking about the Oilers, the Senators, the Flyers, as well as the New Jersey Devils in this video, starting out with a big signing out of Edmonton. Take a look at this. The Oilers have signed forward Sam O'Reilly to an entry-level contract. The London Knights centerman was Edmonton's first-round selection in the 2024 NHL Draft. Now, Sam O'Reilly is a guy that I honestly did not really expect to get his ELC so early on into his career, especially in October of 2024. He just got drafted in the 32nd overall spot a few months ago after all. But the 18-year-old center is 6'1", 183, a right-handed guy, and he showed off really well for the Oilers development camp. Unfortunately, he's not really doing too hot in the OHL right now with 5 points in 7 games. He did have a 56-point campaign in 68 games last season, but the two-way defensively capable center is indeed now in the system after signing his ELC following a great training camp with the Oilers. The article on the Oilers website has the goal that Sam O'Reilly had scored on Eric Comrie of the Winnipeg Jets. It was a really nice play, Sam O'Reilly being one of the main contributors and surprises out of the Oilers training camp this previous preseason. You just gotta hope that as he continues into the OHL, he starts producing a little bit more, especially with a higher role compared to last season in the London Knights organization. But it is pretty good that he was able to get himself the contract. He's getting some NHL money in a two-way capacity, and you like to see prospects get rewarded for their good play. So that's one of the stories I wanted to talk about. Shifting over to another Canadian organization, I wanted to talk about some guys getting sent down, or not necessarily sent down, but sent on waivers. Here's an update that I wanted to dive into. Matthew Highmore from the Ottawa Senators got placed on waivers, and the players from yesterday cleared. Now you might be saying, okay, wait a minute, what do you mean? He's sent on waivers, but he's not sent down? How does that make sense? Well, Matthew Highmore is an interesting player, firstly because he's a former Vancouver Canuck, but also because this is a guy that did not play a game this season so far. He started out the year on the IR, and I'm not necessarily saying that he is an NHL caliber guy, but the fact that he is getting placed down on waivers means that he's possibly ready to return here. He had spent the majority of the season last year in the AHL, getting 31 points in 43 games played with the Belleville Senators, but he did have a few games here and there with the regular Ottawa Senators, scoring 2 points in that 7-game sample. Now, Matthew Highmore, for me, is a guy who will always be remembered for his full-time Vancouver Canucks season in 21-22, where he had 12 points in 46 games played. Nice to see him popping back up in here in the news, especially with news like this. Part of the reason why I do think Matthew Highmore's time with the Ottawa Senators is not necessarily over is because of the fact that they did re-sign him this previous season. They gave him a contract extension after spending the majority of the year in the AHL's Belleville Senators system, so it seems like the Sens really like this guy. They do have themselves value out of him, not just at the AHL level, but in some sort of an NHL role if other guys get injured here and there. But getting sent down means that he's ready to go, and that he's likely going to be playing again, which is a very, very good sign. Now, speaking about guys who got sent down, there are two more that I wanted to talk about in this video, because for the Philadelphia Flyers, they had returned defenseman Emil Andre to the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And this isn't necessarily a move that's like, oh yeah, look, Emil Andre is so bad, he's getting sent down, he's not worth anything. No, it's not like that. It's simply because there might be a return here that makes a lot of sense for Philadelphia. Nick Seeler, according to Adam Kimmelman, is indeed practicing, and with Emil Andre going back to the AHL, it's likely that he'll make his season debut tomorrow versus the Capitals. Nick Seeler is coming back, it seems like, and I really, really like this because Nick Seeler is a guy whom, if you had been following my channel for the past few months, you would have seen that my fantasy league last year was so defensively sound heavy. All the top guys were defensemen who blocked shots and got hits. It was a total banger league. 1 block was equal to 1 assist in the points distribution system of last year, and Nick Seeler was one of the top guys in the league in blocks last year. 31 years old, big guy, 6'2", 201, left-handed defenseman who was signed on till the end of 2028, making $2.7 million a year. Big reward for him after being on an $800,000 deal for the majority of his NHL career. $775,000, excuse me. Now, Nick Seeler did have 14 and 13 points the previous 2 seasons. Not really the most productive guy. I mean, obviously it's not terrible production, but his defensive play, what he does in the defensive zone, how he's able to battle in front for net presence and block a whole bunch of shots. This guy's one of the most fearless players in the NHL, and it's great to see him coming back to the Philadelphia Flyers. It kind of sucks for Emil Andre, but still, you needed to open up that roster spot to make room for Seeler. Interestingly enough, the reason he has been out the entire time is because he ended up blocking a shot with the knee late into the Flyers exhibition, and it was kind of, telling as to what kind of game plan that he'd be able to provide. Not really too surprising here to see Nick Seeler blocking shots like crazy even in the exhibition games, but now he's coming back, and this should be a very good sign for a Philadelphia Flyers team that has found a way to string together a win or two, but other than that, they've been kind of meh. Especially on that Western Canadian road trip, things didn't really look too well after the Vancouver game. Anyways, Philadelphia getting a big boost to their morale on defense. I also wanted to talk about another Metro team getting some changes to their defense system because earlier today it was announced by the New Jersey Devils that one Seamus Casey will be getting sent down to the minors. Interesting. Casey has been reassigned and Daniel Misul has been recalled. The Devils have reassigned defenseman Seamus Casey to Utica of the AHL and recalled blue liner Daniel Misul to the NHL. Misul, 24, has played 3 games with Utica this season. The Devils' third-round pick, 70th overall in 2019, appeared in 44 games last year with Utica, totaling 3 goals, 10 assists, and 14 points. Seamus Casey, 20 years old, played 8 games with the Devils this season, scoring 3 goals and 4 points with a +2. Very interesting news here to see that Seamus Casey, one of the top scoring defensemen in the season so far, is getting sent down, but based off of Devils fans' replies on the Twitter account for the Devils, this seems like a pretty reasonable move. Like, obviously, Seamus Casey, we had talked about him a few videos ago, about how his crazy point production is setting a standard in the rookie class of 24-25, and he has had these 3 goals in 8 games, and he's been producing, etc., but at the end of the day, he has been getting really sheltered minutes, and the Devils just have a lot of other guys that could rotate around in the 6 defenseman slots. Also, you still have Luke Hughes, who is not available yet, but who might be available soon, and if you wanted to rotate some guys around just to see what you have before Luke Hughes makes his permanent comeback, then that's a reasonable idea. People are talking about Simon Nemec, whether or not he should get sent down. Daniel Misul getting some reps here at the NHL level will be good for him too. Brett Pesce also needs to come back soon too. So there's a lot of options here for the New Jersey Devils, and for Seamus Casey, it's not necessarily like he's been played like a number 1 defenseman. He's just been producing really well, converting on a lot of his chances and a lot of his shots. So at the end of the day, this is a reasonable move. Casey was not supposed to be a full-time guy just yet. He made the team via injuries and showed off very well, but there could be some time in the AHL that could be useful for this guy, especially since he was mostly just a Michigan Wolverines defenseman last year in the NCAA. He was very good, and he did play pretty well in the NHL, but 1 season of AHL development is definitely not going to hurt Seamus Casey. He's so young after all, at 20 years old. Anyways, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about these 4 stories. It's kind of a weird video. I wanted to experiment with a bunch of other things here because, there weren't too many real stories to go out there and talk about, so I wanted to take a bunch of the smaller ones and combine them here. I didn't want to make a full 8-9 minute video about Sam O'Reilly of the Oilers signing his ELC after the draft, or an 8-9 minute video about Seamus Casey getting sent down. Just kind of combining everything here, I think it was pretty comfortable. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because, there are always small stories in the NHL, right? Every single day there's a lot of smaller things that go on, so maybe this is the move here, who really knows? if there aren't any huge stories, maybe this is the kind of avenue we have to explore. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Sam O'Reilly contract signing, Matthew Highmore being activated and getting sent down on waivers, Nick Seeler potentially coming back for the Philadelphia Flyers, and then you have Seamus Casey getting sent down too. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.